Hey guys, Sleepy Reader here. Hope you all had a great week. This is the end of the weekend, Sunday night. I've been trying to do my little comic book reviews, or what I think of as the diary of my comic book reading, for 3 or 4 days now, and I keep getting interrupted in one way or another. Anyway, I thought of this as the week where I was grabbed by the covers. There were some covers that I just loved, and I'd love to have them on my walls as prints, nice and big and lush. Anyway, number one amongst those was Deadpool #1. Ever since seeing preview of this, I just knew I had to get Deadpool #1. I love this Jeff Darrow cover. He doesn't do a lot of comic books, but when he does, they're very memorable. And I think he's going to be doing the covers of the entire first arc of Deadpool, and maybe more. This one, well, Jeff Darrow's kind of unique. He reminds me a little bit of Mobius, but there's something both very graceful about his work and also very grotesque and detailed. It's hard to put your finger on. But in this one, it's just a wonderful composition. Somehow the colors are incredible. I love the way the ammo and his spent guns are all flying up in a cloud in the air. And then there's this cloud here, I guess, coming out of the monster's mouth. And it, for totally mysteriously, includes just a whole bunch of cats. All, I guess, cats being barfed up out of the monster's mouth or something. Anyway, killer cover. But there were others. This one totally jumped out at me at the comic book store. I had no plans to buy this issue, but I loved it. Even though it's just grays and greens, it just seemed lush, and I just had to read this comic book. And I kind of fell in love with Poison Ivy for the first time in this comic book. It's the art on the inside is equally as seductive. So anyway, this was a brilliant cover. And then also not on my pull list was Fairest from last month, I believe. But this is the first issue in an arc. So I was hoping it would be a good jumping on point. But also I just love this cover, and I couldn't resist it once I looked at it. Yeah, it's a naked woman, but it evokes kind of Renaissance painting and also some pre-impressionism paintings that I've seen, and yet it also has a look of commercial art. And so it's just this wonderful combination of high art and comic book art, and the colors are great, and I just think this is a great cover. And last, but definitely not least amongst the covers that seduced me, is this Swamp Thing #14. This was on my pull list, but I would have had to have bought it if I'd seen this cover and not been following this series. I just love the sense of weird adventure that it evokes, and the feel of the Swamp Thing, who's sort of part of his own boat, and this grotesque slug-like, fish-like thing that's attacking him. I don't know. To me, it's just a great cover, and it says you have to read this story. In all, I got 9 comic books this week, and I bought 1 trade. I hadn't been planning to buy the trade, but I was kind of, when I saw it at the store, I thought, oh yeah, I really wanted this trade. And in fact, the trade includes a cover that I saw on the stands many months ago, and it made me know that I wanted to follow this series, which is Fatale. And the cover that has always stayed in my mind is this one, the one with the guy with the sunglasses and the blood on his fingers, and he's tasting the blood, and it's just such a weird, it's really creepy, yet it's really realistic, and it seems to be coming out at you from the night, maybe lit up by a street lamp or something. Anyway, so ever since I saw that cover, I thought, well, I'm definitely going to be reading Fatale, and I've been waiting for the trade to come out. And of course, a lot of people in our community have been saying that Fatale is really good. So I'm gonna talk about or review some of these comics, and then maybe make another video reviewing the rest. First off, I should probably talk about Swamp Thing and Animal Man together. These were really good issues, although I have issues with them. They continue the pattern of kind of parallel plot lines, where both Animal Man and Swamp Thing have kind of similar experiences, and the stories are structured similarly. Both of them are an intertwining of the hero's current adventure in Rotworld, where almost all life is gone, and there's just all these monsters made of rot. And then kind of what happened about roughly a year ago to their loved ones while they were off kind of in suspended animation, I guess, within the rot. And it's kind of a nice grounding where you get something closer to the real world and then this sort of wild, out there fantasy world of the rot world. The rot world, even as it progresses and they're kind of going off on their quests into the rot to stop it, it kind of has a bit of a feel of, epic fantasy, with a group of heroes and a quest and a totally evil bad guy who rules the world and must somehow be stopped against all odds. I think of the two. Well, it's hard to say which was the better issue. Swamp Thing, pardon me, I'm banging against my microphone. Swamp Thing's intertwined stories were of Abby Arcane and her dreams. It included a dream sequence, which was quite interesting, although it was confusing because for a while I wasn't sure whose dream it was. It wasn't actually the Swamp Thing's dream, although at first I thought maybe it was somehow. Because the last caption, over here, this caption here is still in Abby's dream. And the odd thing is we start in the dream, but the dream is actually a flashback to a year ago. So we're flashing back to a dream someone had a year ago, and then we're in the present. Then we flash back to her dream again, and then we finally flash back to her sort of real experience, not her dream, in the past, where she is working her way towards her uncle Anton Arcane in his castle somewhere in Europe. It's all very well done, the Abbey part, but it's kind of stretched out, so the actual confrontation with Arcane isn't going to happen until next issue. And the Swamp Thing has a decent battle with Corpse or the Rot Teen Titans, and he eventually wins the day. And then he sets off on a quest with Deadman to find some device that they believe will be able to destroy the Rot, which is in Gotham City. So I'm going to be really interested to see the Rot version of Gotham City. That'll be a lot of fun. But that's coming up next issue. So I'd say my main issue with it is just how stretched out this plot is. We've been working towards the Rot for over a year now in 2 books, and it's still just being stretched. I want more detail. I think they could give us more, and maybe that's even more noticeable in Animal Man. We get just a little snippet, really, of Animal Man's daughter's adventures in the past. And then we get Animal Man and cohorts battling, basically, as everyone said, Rob Liefeld's DC characters, like the Grifter and Hawk and Dove and stuff, the corpse versions of them. And it's not bad. One of the weaknesses of Animal Man right now is, here he is like using kangaroo feet to fight off Hawk down here. He doesn't really kick ass very well. We saw him kind of up his game a few issues ago And now he's back to being kind of this lame superhero right when he really should be upping his game, especially because he needs to rescue his daughter. And the whole power of Animal Man all along has been the whole family thing. So it's almost... We already seem like we're up against impossible odds, and then... And then they're still putting off the heroes getting their act together, and it's getting a little frustrating. And yet I'm enjoying the ride, so I shouldn't complain too much. Both issues have great sort of reveals on their final pages. I won't give those away, but they're really cool. I still like the coloring a lot better on Animal Man than Swamp Thing, since one compares them directly. The artist in Animal Man's kind of upping his game on the layouts. The layouts are more interesting. The layouts are always fantastic in the Swamp Thing with Yannick Paquette. I do have to say, though, although the plot was kind of I loved the art so much in the Swamp Thing annual. I really am craving more Swamp Thing art by Becky Cloonan. I just want to see more of this stuff. And this also was beautifully colored, too. So the Becky Cloonan appearance in Swamp Thing, put her in as a regular, or at least like half of the team or something on Swamp Thing, and that would be really great. Okay. So then, let me talk about Batman Detective Comics, since I've talked about the cover. This is the second issue by John Layman. The first issue I've read by him. It's very jump-on friendly. He fills you in very smoothly with everything that's going on. It does seem like he's also working hard to keep all kinds of aspects of the DC continuity mentioned in here. And after a point, I think that kind of gets in his way. And when they mention the stuff with the Joker, I think, God, with the Joker... the intensity of the Joker story, you almost don't want it overlapping with any other stories, because it makes the threat of other things seem less. I think it would make more sense to not say that this story is concurrent with the Joker death in the family plot, but say it happened before or after. That would make each separate Batman book more plausible, I would think, if we're not saying the adventures are happening in real time, but each book chronicles an adventure that may have taken a week to happen, but, takes a few months to chronicle. So this could have happened before or after the Joker. It would have been better. Anyway, Jason Fabok's artwork is fabulous on the inside, too. And the writing's pretty good. You do get the feeling of John Layman, and is it John? Yeah, John Layman, still trying to find his feet. Oops, that's Wonder Woman. I'm trying to show the other page. And there's a whole interesting dynamic with Poison Ivy that I really like, and I really like the way Poison Ivy is drawn. They don't play up the TNA, but they make her very sexy and very alluring. And I think that's the way to do it. And we get a nice surprise at the end about her new husband. And then we get a backup story, which is very nicely drawn by... It's written also by John Layman, and it's very nicely drawn by... Andy Clark. Very good art. And what it is it's kind of a side story that explains one of the elements in the main story. So instead of kind of a flashback in the main story to explain where did this come from, we get a backup story doing that. They've done that in a few issues of Batman also. So I thought it was pretty good. You know, with 28 pages in these Batman 399 books, it's a pretty good deal. But it would be great if they could just have a 28-page story. They might have to switch off artists more often to do that. So they kind of half do it by making the 8-page backup story a kind of footnote to the main story. So I don't know. I'm going to struggle with the whole 399 aspect, but I'm really tempted to keep getting Lehman and Fabok's Detective Comics. It's very enjoyable. You know, it's not nearly as good as Scott Snyder's, but it's really good, solid, fun Batman. and I really appreciate that they make it reader jump on friendly. So I'll be back at you with another video soon, reviewing some more of these books.